Hello everyone. It's Thursday. I am doing an impromptu quick little video on milk paint. I hadn't planned on doing this, which is why I only gave you about 20 minutes notice. So here we are. Trying to pull myself up here. Seeing if anybody's watching. Please say hello if you are watching. Give me some thumbs and some hearts. How many of you have used a true milk paint before? Hi Mary, thanks for joining. I'm using, this is what I'm going to be using, and I am going to show you how to mix it first. And then, hi Mert from Montana. I have some relatives in Montana. I have not, I would love to go visit them. I've never been there, but it looks beautiful from pictures. So I'm going to use Sweet Pickins milk paint. The first thing I'm going to do is show you how to mix it, because then we're going to let it sit for about 10 minutes and thicken a little bit. So during that 10 minutes is when I'll talk about the milk paint and answer questions, so that we're not just standing here waiting for something. You'll have to come back later, that's fine. Replays are awesome too. All right, so here's how we're going to mix it. So this is a true milk paint, which means that it's made from casein powder. So it has actual milk product in it, so that means that this has a shelf life once you mix it. So let's go ahead and mix it, and then I'll answer all your questions. My eye is twitching. It's been twitching all day. What does that mean? I don't know what it means. So here's what we're going to start with. Where are my cups? Oops, I need to grab an extra cup. I'm using solo cups for the paint. Okay, so the first thing you'll need, now you should measure this out. Sorry. You should measure this out. I've learned to eyeball it, but basically what you're going to do is you're going to put in equal amounts of the milk paint, which I've actually dumped into a cup already, because I couldn't really tell in the bag. I wanted to make sure I had enough to do the bench, because it was a half-done bag. You have lots of snow now, huh? We have been getting ice and rain, which is a real bummer. I'd rather have just nice, pretty snow. All right, so you want warm water, which I've gotten from my sink and have in my cup, and your milk paint powder. You are going to put equal amounts into a cup, and you're going to stir it in here. So when I first started doing this, I used to measure out like a quarter cup and a quarter cup until I kind of got the hang of it. There is totally a learning curve with milk paint. We're just going to pour it right in. So I've got about equal parts. Warm water, it'll help dissolve the powders. And then you're going to stir it up really well. You can make this, it's going to thicken. We're going to wait like maybe 7 or 8 minutes, and it's going to thicken. Now, people are used to different thicknesses of paint. You can make this a little thicker or a little thinner depending on what you like. It really doesn't matter. But what you do want to make sure of is that you have all of the lumps out. You don't want to have any lumps of powder, you know, like when you're making hot chocolate or quick. It reminds me of that quick chocolate milk. Sometimes you'd have like little bits of the powder that when you drank it somehow stayed like in a chunk and dry in the middle. That's kind of like what you don't want. If you do have that, then basically you're going to, you'll just have, once you sand it and that dries, you'll just have like a little hole kind of where it didn't cover because it wasn't dissolved in water. All right, I am mixing and it's going to thicken, so don't worry at this point if it's a little too thin. So have you guys, looks like there's only a few of you on here, but have any of you used a powdered milk paint before? So yes, I'm going to tell you all about the difference between milk paint and the DIY paint. You mean like the DIY paint that I sell, Debbie's Design Diary paint. I'm assuming that's what you mean by DIY. All right, that is probably more than enough stirring. It's just that I'm chatting. So, all right, we're going to leave that right here and let it sit. So, a few things that you need to know. I'm going to tell you the difference in a minute, but I'm going to back up here and tell you like what I did before I mixed the paint while the paint's sitting. Oh my gosh, you guys, my eye is twitching. It feels so freaky. Okay, so first thing I did, I have a wood bench here, and I'm still not used to the correct direction here. I did paint part, I'll show you after, because I want to show you what the second coat of milk paint does. But for this right here, it's a wood bench. I cleaned it really well, just whatever you usually clean with. You want to get all the dirt and the grime and all the dust and everything off. And then what I did, because I'm painting white, is I used shellac. Now whenever I paint, hey Lisa, whenever I paint a light color, no matter what kind of paint I'm using, I always prime first. Now the reason I use shellac and not like a regular primer is because it's clear, so that when this chips, and I'm hoping that it does chip, when this chips, what's going to show through is the wood, because the clear coat is going to show the wood through. So I'm hoping to get kind of a farmhouse chippy. The other thing is that when you're putting milk paint over a glossy surface, clean surface but glossy, and this is glossy, you're more likely to get chipping. So the shellac actually kind of encourages chipping. Now, I have no idea how this is going to come out. I have really no control. Milk paint does its own thing. I don't know how much chipping I'm going to get. I might get no chipping. I might get half the paint might chip off. I might get cute little crackles, big ones, little ones. I don't know. You can only control that so much. But this will help so that you get no bleed through. It'll help it so that you get a little bit of chipping or crazing, whatever you're going for. And it'll help so that you can see through to the wood part. So this is usually what I start with when I milk paint. Okay. I've seen the different results, but not painted with milk paint. Currently use the DIY paints. Yes, they're very different. So I don't want to forget to tell you anything about the product, but what I do want to tell you is I painted milk paint products for years, and DIY is what I use now. I really like the all-natural, non-toxic, which the Sweet Pickins is also. There's no extra chemicals or anything in it. And when I first tried milk paint, the first coat went on great. I was so excited. I was like, oh, this is easy. Why are people like stressed out? Like some people just really don't like milk paint. When I put the second coat on, I sat there and watched my paint dry and shrivel and peel off, which was way more than I had expected it to do because I'd never used it before. I was in a panic, like there was less paint on my piece than there was paint that stayed on it. And I called another DIY friend. This was about 4 or 5 years ago, and she talked me through it. And I just kind of kept at it and learned to let go a little bit. But yeah, it's pretty uncontrollable. So here, let me show you this. If you want to use milk paint, but you want a nice smooth surface because it gets nice and hard, it blends great. You could use it as a stain. If you know that you're not going for a chippy look, but you want to use milk paint, you use Extra Bond or bonding cream, or I think this is an old label of Sweet Pickins, but this is what it looks like. And what you do with this is you mix up your paint, and then you put in also an equal amount of this. This changes the paint, the texture of the paint a little bit, and you only need it in your first coat, but it'll make it stick. It'll make it so that it does not flake off. If you use this, you don't need to do the shellac, okay? So Extra Bond or a bonding agent is what you need to add. The shellac doesn't have to be spray. This was kind of an impromptu, quick that I did, and it's actually kind of nice and sunny outside, so I brought it out in the porch. I sprayed it so it would dry faster. All right, let's check this. So I'm gonna say, I know you guys can't really see how thick this is. Hey Thea, how are you, girl? I can't really see how thick this is. I am not sure, Susan, what products. I'm going to put a little bit more powder in this because I'd like it a little thicker. I'm not sure what milk paint products are available in the UK, but I can certainly check to see if Sweet Pickins is available. There are other milk paint lines as well. Real Milk Paint Company. There is Old Fashioned Milk Paint. Who else am I missing? Miss Mustard Seed. So something is probably available there, and they're all pretty similar. There's a couple of different companies that have kind of different recipes. All right, now I'm seeing. This is crazy. You guys are standing here watching me stir paint, and I'm just eyeballing it. So yeah. So what else did I forget? So yeah, ask me questions before I start painting. I'll think of things once I start moving. Hey Clarice. All right, this is a water-based product. I started to tell you in the beginning that it does have a shelf life. So basically what you want to do is you want to mix up what you think you're going to use, about what you think you're going to use on a project. If you don't finish it up, you could put it in the refrigerator, cover it, put it in the refrigerator overnight, and you should be able to use it the next day. You might need to put a little bit more water in it to thin it, but it won't last more than that because it'll start to smell and kind of go rancid on you, okay? So you mix what you need. Okay, now I want to see, let's make sure you guys can see what I'm painting. Mary, I'm still going to get back to you to tell you the difference between the two paints, okay? I didn't forget. I just want to make sure that you guys can see the bench, okay? And I'm going to swipe those comments off. All right, so because this is water-based, I can use my Klingon brush, which makes me very happy. I use my Klingon for just about everything. I love it. And it's dirty because I already did half the bench. So here we go. I do see a couple of lumps still in it, but they're small and they're not the kind that are encasing. All right, so you just paint it on like regular paint. This feels a little bit, don't worry about, you're gonna need 2 coats, so don't really worry about your coverage. Now, let's see, the difference between, there are a lot of differences between DIY paint and the Sweet Pickins paint. First, one is pre-mixed and the other one you have to mix yourself. Neither one of the products have any extra ingredients that make it toxic. They're both natural and okay for you to paint inside. The DIY paint is based with, it has clay and chalk based. So it's made differently. You could use it thicker to do a textured kind of thing. I've never really done that with milk paint, so I don't think that's, the milk paint is not what I would choose to do a project like that. Both are porous. I sometimes interchange the top coats for each. So, for example, I'll use, you can cover up your milk paint with wax. I am going to try the oil on this bench, the oil wax we did the other day. I love the oil wax, and I have never used it over white, but I am promised that it does not turn white a yellow color. So I am looking forward to testing that out. It is also, you can use it outside too, so. All right, so it dries pretty quickly. I actually am almost dry over on the part that I painted, and I might hit it with a heat gun because the chipping starts when you apply the second coat. So it starts when that first coat gets wet and you're kind of reactivating the paint. A heat gun or hair dryer will kind of encourage crackling. So if you ever want to crackle any kind of paint and you don't have any crackle medium and you want to get like those little crazing look, all you have to do is get a heat gun or a hair dryer. I don't know how many of you knew that. All right, there's something I was going to tell you, but now I can't remember what. Oh, I know what I was going to tell you. If you want to layer colors. All right, so if you want to layer this, so if you want to have black, same, or say this is my first coat is white, okay, and I want to put a dark gray over it, but I want this to chip so that I see the gray under it and not the wood. What I would have done in that case is put this color on with the extra bond so I know it's sticking to my bench and it's not going to come off. And then I would have top coated it with any water-based top coat, or you could use your shellac. So, you know, I can get out, not wax, but the Sweet Pickins top coat, or if you use DIY paint, the big top. Put it right over this white to seal it. And then you're going to put your milk paint over this, and then when it chips, you'll be able to see the color that you sealed underneath. Okay, don't forget that. Can you see the front edge? I didn't forget. I'm trying really hard not to go off camera. I didn't forget any. I won't forget anything because I'm going to have to actually paint this and sell it. All right. So I am gonna, all right, this is the part that I painted before because I want you guys to see the second coat. So you can see where it's still a little bit wet. I'm gonna hit these spots with a heat gun real quick, and it's translucent and that's fine. All right, hopefully this is not gonna be too loud. It is a little loud, sorry. All right, so, but you'll be able to see some magic when it's done. I like the heat guns, hopefully you can hear me. I like the heat guns better than the hair dryer because, well, I use it for everything. I use it when I'm doing epoxy, and then I use it to quickly dry paint, but it doesn't blow air around. So you're not getting any dust or hairs or anything in it. It's just concentrated heat. Usually I would just walk away and do another project and come back in like half an hour, which is why I've got like 5 or 6 projects going on at once because they're all in different stages, right? I just want to make sure it's dry so it doesn't pick anything up. I don't want to lift the paint. All right, I'm gonna like WebMD for twitching eye later if nobody has. Is there a nurse or a medical person in here? I'm not dying, right? I just have a right eye twitch. It's probably something stupid like I need to drink more water. Because I do. I should. Usually I wait until bedtime when it's too late. All right, so that's drying up, and I'm cracking it. I didn't necessarily mean to, but let's see. Can you see that? I just want this to look worn, so it's cool with me that it's cracking. But it's the heat gun that's doing that. This, by the way, I have never had luck with it, but this isn't going to wash out of your clothes, so wear an apron or your paint clothes when you're using it because it really sticks well. That said, it also sands wonderfully. Like it just has such a smooth finish on it. Woo. I'm getting like an alligator crackle over here. I have no idea what's going to happen with this, you guys. You are on this adventure with me. Can you see that? That's crazy. I might not even paint over that part because I really like it and I don't want to chance it lifting up. Anybody there? Give me some hearts and likes so I know people are still watching, please. Even though I talk to myself a lot, I guess I'd be okay. But if you are there, show me some love. Alright, I'm going to turn this off. And then it's just going to cool down and we're going to paint a second coat. Are you there? Alright. It's pretty cool, but I'm not going to put it on my table. I'm going to wait. It shuts off by itself. And this I got just at a hardware store. It's Wagner brand, and I love it for my epoxy so that I can blast the bubbles out. That's originally why I got it, because I used to do a lot more epoxy work. There we go. And it wasn't all that expensive, and I use it actually a lot more than I thought I would. Okay. Hi, thank you. Hi, Sue. Hi, Susan. Hi, Angela. All right, so how do I want to... I want to make sure you guys can see this. I usually don't work on such big pieces close up, so I'm trying to get the optimal. How's that? Let's see, I'm going to paint over here. All right, here we go. All right, so I am going back to my paint. It's been sitting, so I'm just going to give it a quick little stir. It's actually thickened up. The longer you leave it out, the thicker it gets. Oh, it's nice, and it gets nice and creamy. You see that? I love it. Love, love, love. Okay. Here we go. Here goes nothing. I don't know what's going to happen. And now, as this dries, when it's going to start chipping. I've never really needed more than 2 coats. I mean, even going super light, I've never needed more than 2 coats to cover. I'm pretty sure I'm using, I accidentally ripped the top of the name of the color was right here when I ripped it up. When I ripped the top off, so I'm not even positive what color I'm using. I think I'm using one of the whites, like Pickett maybe, or whoops. Okay. See how smooth that's going on? Definitely won't need any more coats than this. This is 2-coat job, and with this paint too, I will. You could finish a piece in a day. You know, you don't have to wait a really long time before you sand and seal. Once it's dry, you can go right for it. Window pane, that's what it's called. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you. I hate when I ripped the name of the color off, and I was comparing it to a few different whites, and I wasn't positive what it was, because it looks different wet than it does dry. So, oops, I just painted over that. I didn't mean to. Well, I guess we'll see what happens. So how many of you like the chippy kind of furniture? I know some of you use the DIY and use clay paint or chalk paint. How some of you, anyone like the look but have just been a little too afraid to try it? I'm just going to keep painting here, and while I mean, that's kind of where I was when I first, and then I just decided I would. Then I decided I would just take a leap of faith, not really care. Of course, you can't do it on a custom piece, because that would be like so incredibly stressful. You know, if somebody picked out a color of milk paint, and then, you know how sometimes people change their minds a lot. So I'm not sure I would do it on that, but I think you just need to jump in and let go of controlling everything. That's what I found out. And I started really, well, of course, the first piece I tried that I told you about a few minutes ago, where I was literally like crying because I had like no paint left on it, was a bureau, like a whole bureau I did in like two-tone, and I was devastated. So after that, I started playing and practicing on like little benches and step stools, which lend themselves a little bit better, I think, to the kind of the chippy look. It looked a little bit more natural, and it wasn't as big of not as big of a project, and something that I felt okay about chipping. But when you lose most of the paint off your dresser, and that's not what you started with, or you don't have the style to pull that off, the style of the piece, that's hard. So who said me? So Sam, I say you jump in and try it. And they're clearing snow, it's very loud. Jump in and try it on a piece that lends itself to, the farmhouse style, the chippy, or you could do a board and make a sign. I have done transfers and stencils and almost anything over milk paint, because once it's done shipping and you seal it, it's done shipping. It doesn't keep chipping. So you don't have to worry about your transfer coming off or anything. Yeah. The Klingon brush that I'm using, I love my Klingons too, Michelle. The Klingon brush, this is the F30. I use, I do have some in brush, a lot of Klingons in stock, and I have more on the way. The ones that I happen to use the most are the flats, and then the shorty, which is the newer one. It's the S50, and I like that because I'm clumsy, and it's got a nice short handle. All right, it's not quite dry over here, so I'm lifting some of the paint up by accident while I'm putting it down. All right, I'm wondering about, what do you guys think about heat gunning some of the top, or should we just let it dry naturally? Could you hear me when I had my heat gun going? I don't know if I should just turn off and come back later, or if we should heat gun it and just keep going. I love the Klingons. Are only good for waterborne paints. So if you're going to shellac first, don't apply your shellac or your oil-based primer with your Klingon, because you'll ruin it. And if you don't have a Klingon, I can tell you that I have a few brushes that I use. Okay, maybe 8, maybe more than a few, because I've got a lot of projects going at once. In the other room right now, I'm starting to do some of sample boards. So I've got 3 paint brushes sitting in water that I'm using right now while the paint dries, and I can put a second coat on. The sample board that I'm doing, for those of you who've been watching this week, the sample board that I'm doing has this color of milk paint, and then I'm going to put another color of milk paint on the other side. And I have 2 colors, one white, another white of DIY, and a gray of DIY. After they're done, I'm going to seal them in the oil wax, and I'm going to seal the other side of them also in regular wax, because I want to see, number one, how much it deepens and darkens the color. Because the benches that I did this week, I think that the oil wax really, really changed the color of the DIY paint, because it's so porous, and it doesn't, from what I remember in my experience, it doesn't darken up the milk paints as much. And the second thing I want to see is if the whites remain a true white with the oil wax, because I'm pretty sure they do, but I just want to do some boards myself. So when those are done, I'll show you guys probably early next week, since it's already Thursday. Okay, so Clarice, you could hear me. All right, heat gun it is. Ask me some questions. Let's heat gun this. I'm glad you could hear me. I don't even need to talk as much. This is so exciting. I love watching it change under the heat gun. So if you use these, I've just got it set. It's set at 950 degrees, which is actually pretty hot. But that's just over the center point. It gets much hotter than that. But this is hot. I've accidentally put my hand under it before, so. And I'm just gonna, you move it around so you're not leaving it over one spot. Thanks, Michelle. My earrings, I bought these off Anthropology on one of the sale on sales. I think it's all bent up. I love really long earrings. When I wear my hair down, I've got so much hair you can never see my earrings, so I buy, like, if something says 4 inches, I'm like, yeah, that's all me. I'll buy the 4-inch ones. All right, you can see the darker colors is where it's still wet, but it's drying. We're going to get some texture. There's some peeling happening on the side, so we're definitely getting some chipping. Would it show through the crackle if you did a color underneath? Yes, it would, Susan. What I would do is put a color underneath it, seal that color, and then you can put, and I would seal that color also with the shellac, because again, it's gonna, if the shellac is going to encourage chipping because it's a shiny surface. So you could paint your color, shellac seal it, and then put the milk paint right over the top of it. And then when this starts to chip and crackle, that's what you can see through it is whatever color's underneath. And I've done that before. Sometimes I'll sand the layers, sometimes I'll crackle the layers. Sometimes you could use a scraper or a putty knife, a metal one. That's another way to get like big, huge chipping. But sometimes it just does it all on itself when you're sanding or as it's drying. I have no crackle medium in the paint. The nature of milk paint and the reason that you would use it, the reason that I use it when I want crackling, because milk paint will crackle most of the time and chip, unless you do the things that I talked about before to make it not crackle and chip. It does make a beautiful finish. I mean, you can paint something nice and neat without having the crackling also with milk paint. You just have to prep it differently and maybe use the bonding cream. But if I want to do something farmhouse and I don't want to wet distress it as my way to make it look aged, if I want paint chipped off, milk paint is what I'm going to choose. I feel like there's different tools and different products for what you're looking for a lot of times. And because I sell this and I have it already, that's what I go for. Now you could crackle any kind of paint with a heat gun. If you had a heat gun like straight on it and you put the paint on pretty thick, it's going to crackle. But it's not going to chip. I like the chipping. Alright, I'm going to zoom in on this. I have no idea what's going on the other side here. I haven't even been over there, but I do have some paint that's coming up on this side, on the edges. I might even go grab a little piece of sandpaper. It's looking good. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna, actually, you know what? I don't want to sand it while I've got it wet on the other side, so I'm gonna keep doing this for another minute, and then I'm gonna show you where it's flaking off and show you what it looks like close up. Sometimes I get a little too excited and I move too fast. I don't know how many of you saw my sample board last week. I started a sample board with molds, and I got a little too excited and I tried to speed the process up because I was liking the project. So I sealed my board and I waited 20 minutes, and I went back and I tried to put a transfer on, and the transfer pulled up the paint and it pulled up the sealer, and now I have to sand my board down, and I should have known better. You know what, Susan, probably take like an hour or two if you put it on really thick. If I was letting this dry naturally, I would have walked away and done something else for an hour and come back and then probably started sanding and then sealing. It's pretty quick. I definitely don't stand here with the heat gun with all my projects. I just put them aside and keep going. Hey Donna, how are you? Good to see you. All right, now I'm going to turn this off. Let's see, it'll turn off by itself. It needs to cool down. It's mostly dry. It's a little bit wet still down here, but I'll just work on this end and show you guys what it looks like. And I don't have to worry about the dust because I think it's just dry like underneath where it's a little thicker. All right, I'm going to set this here. No, I'm not, because that's annoying. I'm going to grab a piece of sandpaper. I'll be right back. Alrighty. Move this before I trip over it. Actually, I should move both of this before I dump it all out, because I want to show you the edge of the table, so I don't want to have any water here. Okay. So this part is pretty dry. Can you see this crackling here? And I've got paint chipping off on the edges. That might help. Sometimes I get a glare from my lights. I try to make it better, but it just makes it worse. Okay, so there's that. And then, let's see, I think I've got some chipping going on here. The paint is, see that? So that's what's underneath. That's just my hand. I don't have sandpaper yet. Actually, it's in the other hand. But that is what's happening on the edges, which looks phenomenal when it's sealed, I think. All right, so yeah. What am I doing, Jean? I'm painting with milk paint, Jean. I'm trying to show where it's chipping, and I'm going to sand a little piece. All right, so see how it's chipping on the edge there? Love that. You don't even really. All right, so when I'm sanding it like this, it's taken up everything loose, so it's not going to keep chipping. Okay, so it's not going to keep. It's done. I'm sanding this smooth. It really doesn't need a lot of sanding. Look at that. This is just what the paint decided to do. Okay, it's not going to keep chipping. Oh, if you could feel that, it is so smooth. Okay, and then, see that? This is 220. I am just doing enough to get, I mean, this is really smooth. It took off all the loose paint, and you can see the bench underneath it because that's where I shellacked it and sealed that in. Okay, so let's see. I'm just going to put it on a little sanding block here. I mean, a lot of times I use my orbital sander for this part. I bet this sounds great on the microphone, huh? All right, that is so smooth. Where I put the paint really thick there, you can kind of even see a little bit of pitting with the paint. Right here, because it might not have dried all the way there. But basically, when you seal it, this also looks amazing. You guys, those of you who like dark and black wax, I know, I'm sure the sanding sounds awful. I'm sorry. I won't keep doing it. I just wanted you to see how little you need for the paint to start coming up, and then this texture in there. And even when it's sealed, it will accentuate the, God, it looks like alligatoring almost. It's because I had it thick and because I used the heat gun. That's why that happened. Usually you do get this a lot with milk paint, but usually this is what you get. This is still wet, and I'm putting thumbprints in it. And this is not going to happen until your second coat. Okay, I've got standing dust all over my iPad. All right, thank you so much for watching. I hope I taught you something today about milk paint that you didn't already know. And if you would like to try it, you can find all the products on my website, serendipity.house. If you try it and you need a lifeline, I'll be your lifeline, because somebody was there for me, and I swear if I didn't have her to talk me through this, I never would have tried milk paint again. So be courageous, try something new. It may be your new favorite thing. I really love it for certain projects. All right, have a great day, you guys. I will go live again soon, and I probably won't give you any notice because I'm just kind of fly by the seat of my pants, you know? All right, thanks guys, be well.